The afternoon sun poured through the café windows, warm and bright, when a quiet moment changed two broken lives forever. A single father, exhausted and carrying the invisible weight of loss, sat alone at a small table while the city moved on outside. Across the room, a young woman in a wheelchair paused, her eyes steady and brave, and in that simple pause began a story about dignity, courage, and the kind of kindness that arrives when least expected. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of human connection, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness right now. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Aarav Hale had learned to measure his days by small victories. Getting his son to school on time. Making it through a work shift without his thoughts drifting back to the accident that took his wife. Finding a moment to sit in the daylight and breathe. That café was his refuge, chosen because it was bright, calm, and close to the park where children laughed in the open air. It was midday, the safest time for his son to be with a neighbor, and the only time Aarav allowed himself to rest. He stared at his coffee, thinking about bills, responsibilities, and the quiet ache of being the only parent left standing. The young woman who approached his table was named Maribel Cruz. Her wheelchair moved smoothly, practiced, as if it were an extension of her body rather than a limitation. She had learned to carry herself with a calm strength ever since a spinal injury years earlier reshaped her future. The café was crowded with the daytime rush, and empty seats were rare. When she stopped beside Aarav's table, it wasn't pity in her eyes, but respect, the kind that asks without demanding. Aarav noticed the hesitation, the way she waited, giving him space to say no. In that moment, he felt something unfamiliar soften inside him. Life had trained Aarav to keep his guard up. Since becoming a single dad, he avoided conversations, especially ones that might reopen wounds. Yet something about Maribel's presence felt different. There was no urgency, no expectation, only a shared need for a place to exist for a while. He nodded, shifting his bag, making room. Sunlight touched the table between them like a promise neither dared to name. As they sat, the café's gentle noise wrapped around them. Aarav noticed Maribel sketching in a small notebook, her hands steady, her focus intense. He realized how rarely he allowed himself to notice beauty anymore. His struggles had narrowed his world to survival. Maribel, too, carried her own battles. The injury had stolen her mobility, but not her ambition. She spent her days illustrating children's books, hoping one day to inspire kids who felt different or left behind. The world often saw the wheelchair first, not the woman. Aarav, without realizing it, saw her fully. Minutes turned into something meaningful. Aarav felt lighter, as if sharing the table had shared the weight he carried. He thought of his son, of how he wanted to raise a child who believed compassion was strength. Maribel, sensing his tiredness, offered quiet understanding through her presence alone. No explanations were needed. Sometimes healing begins without words. When Aarav finally stood to leave, daylight still filled the room. He felt changed, grounded by a reminder that kindness doesn't fix everything, but it can steady the heart. Over the following weeks, the café became a shared routine. Daytime conversations grew into trust, and trust into something deeper. Aarav introduced Maribel to his son in the park nearby, where laughter echoed under open skies. Maribel showed the boy her drawings, and he saw not a wheelchair, but a storyteller with magic in her hands. Just before the ending, a special request: please comment the word kindness below if you believe small moments can change lives. By the time summer light softened into late afternoon gold, Aarav realized he was no longer alone in his journey. Maribel had reminded him that love doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it rolls gently to your table and asks for a place to sit. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, and share it to let others feel the same warmth. Your engagement helps keep stories of hope alive on Touch of Kindness, where every view becomes part of someone's healing.